came across images on the internet of this thing that happened in a Miami art fair where Maurizio Cattelan had, like, in his signature silver duct tape, he'd stuck a real life banana on the wall of Emmanuel Perrotin's stand, and there was a price tag of $100,000, I think it was. And I think normally this would have just kind of gone by. This would have just kind of come and gone. The work was called Comedian as well. It caught everybody's imagination. It was fascinating because it kind of became a bit of a meme. People kind of copied it in lots of different ways. And then I suddenly got caught in the idea of like, wow, how interesting it is. The media, social media, the repetition of an idea through these just different little tweaks, catching people's imagination and then spinning it round like that. That seemed to be a very contemporary, and it seemed to be a work of the moment. So I then suddenly started thinking, you know, would there be a way that I could take this and somehow kind of, I don't know about immortalize it, but somehow kind of fix it, or somehow look at the way that this might turn out, or look at one way in which this might turn out. And I've been working with dried flowers and dried leaves and lots of floral bouquets that you just leave and let them to kind of almost like get to a point of stillness. So the actual still life, if you like. So here's a still life, and then you leave it until it actually really stops doing stuff. And I suddenly thought to myself, oh, well, it is interesting because obviously, like, if you put the banana on the wall, it's going to go black. Maybe I can do a piece with this black banana. I ended up casting it in bronze and painting it to look like the black banana. It has a Rainforest Alliance sticker on the banana, because obviously suddenly when we looked at the banana and thought about the banana in political terms, it's something that seems to talk about almost like political power. So the country that imports the most amount of bananas is seemingly the country with the most amount of kind of wealth, if you like. I think with the Maurizio Cattelan piece, obviously the financial punt, like the idea that it was £100,000 for something ephemeral, for something you knew that you'd never be able to keep on the wall, it really did sort of like, it forced the audience to think, wow, I'm just paying money for a certificate or for something that I can't have. I then started thinking about titling it, and I thought of you're having a laugh, but in cockney rhyming slang it's like you're having a giraffe. So if I called the work Giraffe, it would be quite nice because it was like, this is not a giraffe. And I guess it kind of looks a bit like a pipe, or it's got a bit of a long neck, this one. I mean, I've made a whole series and many different kinds of works which were bronze casts of real objects that then get painted back to look like they were. My jump-off point for that was actually Jasper Johns' beer cans, 2 Ballantine beer cans, which was called painted bronze. And again, it was a kind of almost like a joke sculpture. It was something that apparently, so the story goes, although I guess this is an artistic myth, that Leo Castelli at that point was able to sell anything, and so John's just like brought forward these 2 cans, cast them, painted them, and then sure enough Castelli was able to sell them. The first thing I ever made was a cast of a licorice pipe. And so this was a child's pipe, which obviously in many ways referred to Magritte's "This is not a pipe." And obviously as a licorice pipe, it kind of didn't really look like a pipe either, and you shouldn't really be giving pipes to kids anyway. But in actual fact, it wasn't even a licorice pipe. It was a bronze cast of a licorice pipe painted back to look like a licorice pipe. So there's this kind of sense of looking and overlooking, or looking and seeing the surface and getting caught in the illusion of the surface, that the surface becomes the set of all parts. You know, I found myself, like, through time over the years, continuing down this process of making things in bronze and painting them to look like what they looked like when they went in to be cast. I think that lots of artists choose to understand certain stylistic themes from art, that they move towards art in a more general way. Quite often I find myself moving towards art in a very specific way, and I try and re-wet the surface and then try and model something or mould something else into that space. So there's a kind of surrealistic approach where maybe we take certain ideas that exist outside of each other, and then we try and fuse the two things together to make a kind of hybrid.